Hello, hi. I'm Giovanni Hall Art. I'll just be having a chill drawing session. Just working on this drawing really slowly and getting in and finishing up hopefully. Right, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and Patreon for more. I listen to a podcast by Ron and Mango as I'm working. Yeah, feel free to join me in the chats and just watch and chill. Alright, let's get into it.
Bada bing, bada boo.
The man is wearing an olive green jacket with big pockets in the front. Most of his face is covered with a mask, and he's carrying this big old backpack because today is the day. He's walking through New York City, glancing from side to side, making sure that nobody is staring at him strangely, because the last thing that he needs right now in this moment is to be stopped, questioned, or even have any sort of long-standing interaction with any New Yorker. Probably the worst case scenario would be an interaction with the NYPD. But he's not even trying to think about that. Because is that woman over there staring at him right now? It's fine. It's fine. The man is on a mission. He needs to get to the destination, and everything else can be figured out once he gets there. He walks straight into the park in broad daylight. There's a group of girls in matching outfits wearing these plaid skirts, dancing to the K-pop group Twice's song, Heart Shaker. Really good song, by the way. They're filming a K-pop cover. A man walking through the park stares at him. He says, "Bro, I don't know if you should be doing this, but your life choice, I guess." What is that supposed to mean? Another citizen stops and points. "He's the one! He's the one!" And with that, the man in the green jacket, he starts smiling, because that means he just won $50. He is contestant number 6 in the lookalike contest for the shooter that killed Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare. The man in the hood, the winner, he says,
They already had a
it's
lookalike
so funny.
contest?
I got no looks while I was coming from home to the park. No looks until I got over here. And now everybody wants a picture with me.
What does that mean? No looks.
I got no looks until I came over here.
Nobody looked at him strangely, even though he matches the exact profile of a killer that's quote unquote on the run.
Oh.
How is it that a man is shot and killed in the middle of Manhattan in broad daylight? He hasn't even been laid to rest yet. The shooter has yet to be caught. Technically, a killer is on the loose, and yet there is a lookalike contest for the killer? I mean,
Already?
what
That's
could you have
crazy.
done so horribly in life that in death, people are holding lookalike contests for the killer while the killer is still on the loose? There is a literal CCTV video of somebody shooting and killing the CEO of United Healthcare, but most Americans are questioning, who really is the real victim here? Is it the one that was shot and killed? Or is it the shooter himself? I have a secret that I want to share with you. Okay, it's not really a secret, but I think more of you guys should know. I want to let you guys know that you can catch this podcast not only here on YouTube, but also on Spotify. And while the show will be the same in both places, there are a few things that I love about Spotify. First of all, was the recent Spotify Wrapped. You guys have been sending me DMs and screenshots of Rotten Mango and Mott's being at the top of your podcast charts. And I just feel really connected with you guys. Secondly, Spotify is really the best platform to listen to our shows, both audio and video. Another one of my favorite things is being able to seamlessly switch between watching the video or just listening to the audio. So you can enjoy the show on the couch or on the go without missing a single beat. Also, on the creator side, Spotify has been able to give me a lot of insights into what you guys like and what you guys don't like. So it's been helping me figure out what resonates the most with you. And that's helped me shape this podcast into something that I hope you love. And I can't wait to hear what you think about the Spotify experience. Let me know in the comments if you've checked it out. And I can't wait to see your Spotify Wrap for 2025. You got to start now. We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the PAN Foundation, which works to remove barriers to medical treatment. They also champion policies that expand access to care. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team, and we'd also like to thank you guys for your continued support as we work on our mission to be worthy advocates. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. A few big disclaimers for today's case. This case is currently ongoing. There's new developments every single day. If there are any major developments, which is to be expected, we're going to add them in the pinned comments below or perhaps even make a follow-up video. But most of what we could find is available publicly online, which includes netizen comments, theories, netizens' own personal experiences with healthcare in the US. And legally speaking, I am not here, nor would I ever be able to verify if each and every netizen's personal anecdote is factually correct. We trust you guys to come to your own judgments and opinions like you do with any and all cases that we bring you. And we tried to gather all the sentiments on the internet as well as legacy media included so you can see the full picture of what's going on. This is not supposed to be a think piece. We're not trying to sway you one way or the other. And obviously, I think you guys are smart enough to make your own informed decisions on how you feel about something. However, it would be silly to not recognize the healthcare system to everyday Americans is, personally, in my opinion, a torture system. And I think to not even address that would be kind of goofy. Additionally, just because somebody has been arrested does not mean that they are guilty of a crime. Everybody has the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. And one last disclaimer. For the sake of brevity, we will be referring to United Healthcare as United, but please note that there is no relation to United Airlines, which is more commonly referred to as United. Additionally, United Healthcare is just one arm of a massive company called United Health Group. So when we refer to Brian Thompson as the CEO of United Healthcare or United, he's actually the CEO of just United Healthcare. There are other CEOs involved. There's a ton of different subsidiaries that United Health Group owns. And then there's a CEO that is the CEO of United Health Group, the whole organizational structure. So I know that some people on Twitter were getting a little bit confused because they're like, wait, I saw different names as the CEO of United Health Group, but this is United Healthcare's CEO. So this is the insurance arm. This is where people feel, I guess, more emotional about the case. But we will get into the nitty gritty of the United Health Group in a second. So with that being said, let's get into it. Goodreads is kind of like the Yelp for books. You go on there and you rate and review books that you've read, but it's also a great place to stalk someone. And I don't condone this, but you would be surprised at how much someone could gather from the types of books you read. For example, someone can see how often you read, how well read you are, what kind of genre of books you read, but those are very obvious. You can even tell if someone is more lenient and likely to give high ratings. Maybe they're generous versus someone who never gives a high rating and just has a plethora of 2-star reviews. If the Goodreads account holder leaves reviews, you can even see how they feel about certain topics, what kind of things that they pick out from a 900-page book. Some people will even take it a step further, trying to figure out someone's most favorited books, their highest rated books, and see what that says about you. Some popular book analysis on TikTok include, which are all jokes, don't get offended. If your fantasy book choice is Cruel Prince, you're a furry. I said it. If your favorite book is The Secret History by Donna Tartt, one TikToker states, you think reading classics and drinking red wine and smoking cigarettes makes you all mysterious and so intelligent, but it just kind of makes you annoying. If your favorite is A Little Life, you are mentally ill.
What?
It's a really sad book. You're torturing yourself if you read it. Apparently it's devastating. Now, the past few days, a Goodreads account has gone viral, which doesn't really happen. I mean, usually you have people's social media accounts going viral, but this is like someone's Yelp page going viral. But everyone on the internet is trying to decipher, crack the code to what does this mean? What does this man's Goodreads account mean? The viral account shows the man has 295 books read, logged on Goodreads, and is currently reading The Book Thief, a historical fiction about Nazi Germany during World War II. Omnivore's Diet by Michael Pollan, which is about the ethical implications of our food choices, and How to Change Your Brain by Michael Pollan, which is a very intense book about how psychedelics could be used to treat mental health conditions. It's a very interesting combination of reads. In his favorite section, you have The Lorax by Dr. Seuss, which is not just a children's book, but it's a critique of environmental practices as well as a critique of the timber industry, and it's actually a pretty anti-capitalist critique. Other favorites include The Bullet Journal by Ryder Carroll and What's Our Problem by Tim Urban. Aside from his favorite, it's clear that this man is interested in Hawaii. He's reviewed 2 travel guidebooks for Hawaii. There's self-help books thrown into the mix, as well as fitness books. A mixture of tech-related reads are on there, such as Algorithm Design, which he rated 4.16 stars. Very generous. The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss is there. And this one is interesting because he actually leaves a little personal snippet in the review. He writes, I'm reminded of a long-standing debate at my childhood dinner table. Whenever we would eat steak, I would use my knife in my left hand and my fork in my right hand, which would infuriate my mother. She would remind me to cut with my right hand since I was right-handed and switch back and forth my right hand for each bite. When pressed for a reason why, she would reply, "Because that's how it's done. That's how you cut it." Dissatisfied, I would press further. She would reply, "Because that's proper manners." As a 6-year-old, I found this to be the most pointless and
Damage is never fun, but at CSN, you can rest
an inefficient process in the world, and I would voice this opinion. Why would I switch hands every single bite to maintain some arbitrary convention? The final reply was, "One day you're gonna meet a nice girl, and when you go out to dinner with her, you're gonna need proper manners." My response then, and still a fundamental belief to this day, is that anyone who cares about something so small and insignificant is maybe not someone I would want to spend my time with.
This is common under 4-hour work
Week by Tim Ferriss. The Goodreads account also goes on to like 2 quotes, because you can like quotes from books. One reads, "Science fiction is already happening to some extent in our own society. Instead of removing the conditions that make people depressed, modern society gives them antidepressant drugs. In effect, antidepressants are a means of modifying an individual's internal state in such a way as to enable him to tolerate social conditions that he would otherwise find intolerable. Imagine a society that subjects people to conditions that makes them terribly unhappy, then gives them the drugs to take away their unhappiness." This quote is from the book Industrial Society and Its Future. For the full book, the Goodreads account leaves a lengthy review that becomes very pertinent. It reads, "Clearly written by a mathematics protege, reads like a series of lemmas on the questions of 21st century quality of life. It's easy to quickly and thoughtlessly write this off as a manifesto of a lunatic in order to avoid facing some of the uncomfortable problems it identifies. But it's simply impossible to ignore how prescient many of his predictions about modern society turned out. He was a violent criminal, rightfully imprisoned, who maimed innocent people. All these actions tend to be characterized as those of a crazy Luddite. However, they are more accurately seen as those of an extreme political revolutionary." A take I found interesting online is this. So then he quotes a netizen comment he read online. "He had the balls to recognize that peaceful protest has gotten us absolutely nowhere, and at the end of the day, he's probably right. Oil barons haven't listened to any environmentalist, but they feared him. When all other forms of communication fail, violence is necessary to survive. You may not like his methods, but to see things from his perspective, it's not terrorism, it's war and revolution. Fossil fuel companies suppress anything that stand within their way, and within a generation or two, it will begin costing human lives by greater and greater magnitudes until the Earth is just a flaming ball orbiting third from the sun. Peaceful protest is outright ignored. Economic protest isn't possible in the current system. So how long until we recognize that violence against those who lead us to such destruction is justified as self-defense? Those companies don't care about you or your kids or your grandkids. They have zero qualms about burning down the planet for a buck. So why should we have any qualms about burning them down to survive? We're animals, just like everything else on this planet, except we've forgotten the law of the jungle and bend over backwards for our overlords when any other animal would recognize the threat and fight to the death for their survival. Violence never solved anything is a statement uttered by cowards and predators." The Goodreads account rates this book 4 stars. This book is written by the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. He killed 3 people and injured 23 others. He was academically successful, at least at one point in his life. He attended Harvard as a mathematics prodigy and became, I believe, the youngest assistant professor in the history of UC Berkeley. Eventually, he quit everything to live a primitive lifestyle in a cabin in the woods, which would have been fine, but he's very anti-tech, anti-industrialism, anti-capitalist, which again would be ideologies to be talked about. But then he started making bombs and sending them out, which is the only way that the Unabomber believed he could draw attention to his manifesto and ideas. So why is this Goodreads review going viral? Because perhaps that's what the account holder was inspired by. Trade in a violent crime for everyone else to know his message. I mean, it's too soon to say for sure, but this is the Goodreads account of the arrested suspect for the killing of Brian Thompson, United Healthcare CEO. And I guess netizens are wondering, is this what he was trying to tell us? If you wake up in the middle of a surgery, most likely you cannot speak. You cannot tell the doctors, hey, so I can hear you drilling and sawing into my skull and my body. You can't even twitch, you're practically paralyzed. One person who woke up in the middle of surgery said it was terrible. They said, my brain kept telling me over and over, say your name, say something, do something, wiggle your toes. But I was completely incapable of saying something or moving my body at all. Waking up in the midst of a surgery can actually be so traumatic, depending on the surgery, that sometimes doctors will even recommend therapy, mental help, to get rid of those PTSD memories. It's that bad. In surgery, anesthesia, going under, timing is everything. I mean, timing is everything in that. And the same goes for public relations, PR. Blue Cross Blue Shield, a health insurance company in the United States, announces that they will be making changes moving forward. Let's say a very specific, life-saving, life-altering surgery lasts about 2 hours on average. But sometimes because every condition is different, there's going to be variations in surgery time. If a customer's surgery lasts longer than 2 hours, Blue Cross Blue Shield will not cover the extra time under anesthesia.
It's the most ridiculous.
When they release this change in policy, netizens on TikTok start asking Blue Cross Blue Shield, do you know you have 30 minutes? That's what TikTokers are saying. They write, LMAO, in this climate, somebody already ate the rich, and now the world is waiting to see if any one of us is still hungry. Within 24 hours, the representative for Blue Cross Blue Shield states, there has been significant widespread misinformation about an update to our anesthesia policy. As a result, we have decided not to proceed with the policy change. To be clear, it never was and never will be the policy of Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield to not pay for medically necessary anesthesia services. The proposed update to the policy was only designed to clarify the appropriateness of anesthesia consistent with well-established clinical guidelines.
What?
They say we were trying to help you. They say we realized based on the feedback that our communication about the policy was unclear, which is why we're rolling it back. But is that really why? Or is it because the CEO of United Healthcare was just killed in broad daylight? Brian Thompson is on his way to the annual United Health Group investors meeting. It's going to be at the Hilton Midtown Hotel in Manhattan, which is not where he's staying. For whatever purpose, perhaps safety. He's staying at the Marriott down the block. Then he's going to walk to the Hilton, which is just a few blocks away, to get ready to more or less tell the investors how much money they're going to be making this year. I mean, just for transparency purposes, it's probably a really good day for Brian Thompson.
Hi, I'm Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare. And welcome. Our mission and values are focused on helping people live healthier lives and making the health system work better for everyone. I hope what I've shared with you today gives you a tiny glimpse into what is possible and how we view consumerism within United Healthcare.
He's what's called a heavyweight in the industry. Under his leadership, United Healthcare acquired over 1 million customers in 2023. Total revenue grew by 14.6%, and net profit margins were 6% for 2023, probably better for 2024. Which I see some people arguing about that 6% profit margins. They're not the best profit margins in across the board industry, capitalistic societies, but you're talking about a behemoth like United Healthcare. Their total revenue in 2023 was $271.6 billion. 6% of that is $22.6 billion.
That is crazy.
They are number 8 in global companies for revenue. Globally, number 4 in the United States.
Wow.
They're above Alphabet. They're above Google. It's been said that under Brian's leadership, stock prices roughly doubled, which makes sense because before he was appointed CEO, he had worked in the insurance industry for a really long time, but he has no medical degree. He's a CPA. He's also one of the many executives in the healthcare industry that decided to start denying patients' claims and payments for what they, the insurer, believe to be non-critical visits to the ER. AKA, hey you, random person with little or no medical knowledge sitting at home, please make sure that you're actually dying when you go to the ER. Like, be for real. If you only think that you're dying 60%, maybe hold off, because if you don't think that you're gonna die, we're not gonna pay for it. If we think that you could have lived, we're not gonna pay for it. So you're gonna pay for it. And then you're gonna be dying from the medical debt. It got so bad that the chief executive of the American Hospital Association wrote an open letter to Brian Thompson, practically pleading him. Patients are not medical experts and should not be expected to self-diagnose during what they believe is a medical emergency. Threatening patients with a financial penalty for making the wrong decision could have a chilling effect on seeking emergency care. But that's clearly not the focus of the annual investors meeting that day in Manhattan. The focus is how much money the company is making. 6:45 a.m., Brian Thompson is walking to the Hilton Hotel. He's about to reach the door when a hooded, masked man walks up behind him.
The real gift can't be wrapped with a bow.
That is
Real
crazy.
gift.
First shot in the leg. The second shot goes into his back, and at least 3 shots are fired directly into Brian Thompson at a pretty close range, and he drops dead. A few details to note. The gun appears, at least initially, to malfunction, but the suspect is able to clear it calmly. They are overwhelmingly calm, collected, to the point where some people initially believe that this is a professional job. Brian Thompson is clearly the target, and the end goal is his death. There's no robbery attempt, no attempt to even talk to him. It said the suspect loitered around waiting for Brian to arrive to the Hilton Hotel for perhaps like 5 minutes. There's another person that's standing nearby when the suspect takes out their gun and starts firing. They end up running off. There's no attempt to harm that person or anybody else, just Brian Thompson. When the shots are fired, Brian Thompson is down. The suspect then walks into an alleyway before hopping onto a city bike and heading towards Central Park. Brian Thompson is rushed to the hospital where he is pronounced dead. In 2023, 386 people were killed in the city of New York. That is more than 1 murder per day. As with anyone else and their tragic murders, the show must still go on. The same day, Rockefeller held its highly anticipated annual Christmas tree lighting, while the suspect, the shooter, is still on the loose in Manhattan. The NYPD hold this whole press conference to state that, quote, "I want to be clear. At this time, every indication is that this was a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack. This does not appear to be a random act of violence. Many people passed the suspect, but he appeared to wait for the intended target." The NYPD commissioner states, "The shooter appeared to be lying in wait for several minutes before approaching the executive from behind and opening fire." NYPD also highlight, is this guy a pro or not? They say, the precision of the shooting, the use of a ghost gun, and the escape on a bicycle suggest that this was not a random act by an amateur. So speaking of a ghost guns are likely 3D printed guns.
That is crazy. How is that very common?
They say if you have enough motive, if you have enough technological knowledge, you can buy a 3D printer and do it. Yeah, that's what a lot of experts are saying, and they're really concerned about what this means. Because there's no way to track those.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still wishy-washy how to track regular guns. Ghost guns are even harder.
Yeah.
A lot of firearms experts stated online that watching the footage, this guy's gotta be pro. Some of them even state using a silencer in broad daylight. There was a silencer on there, a 3D printed silencer. And then casually biking away from the kill. That's some calculated pro level stuff. I mean, look at the precision in the shooting. You don't get that aim without practice or at least being a pro. One expert states, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that this shooter is a professional hitman. It could also be a very determined, very well-researched, very practiced individual. One netizen disagrees. Not a pro hitman, but feels like a hitman. Others argue, well, usually hitmen are like ghosts in the night. You don't see them. You just know that they're there because now somebody's dead. He was caught on CCTV footage shooting and killing Brian Thompson. You could hardly call that a pro. One comment reads, how could anyone miss at that range? Yeah, it's a good hit, but come on, like a 5-year-old could make that shot. Another person comments, a trained marksman would have walked up within arm's reach and made 1 kill shot. The main argument by those who do not believe him to be a professional being, I mean, if he in fact is a professional hitman, why would he be caught on CCTV camera? But then others argue, what if that was the point? One comment reads, If there had been no footage of the killing, the media impact and reach would be 50% less. He was both a professional shooter and motivated to hurt the company or something. Regardless, the police reveal that they have a few strong leads that they're going to follow. First, they release a few photos of the suspect, likely the most pertinent one being CCTV photos of him when he pulled his mask down to briefly smile at the front desk employee. A lot of rumors online say that he is smiling at a Starbucks barista who he was flirting with.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but it's actually false. He was perhaps flirting with the hostel worker, but it's at the hostel that he was staying at prior to the shooting. Yeah. One source states that the receptionist at the front desk asked to see his quote-unquote pretty smile, so he briefly pulled down his mask to show. It is worth noting that he did allegedly stop by Starbucks prior to the shooting, but the picture itself is not from there. The police then release another photo along with that. It is of the suspect in the back of a taxi car after leaving Central Park after the shooting. There's drones flying through the air. Canine dogs are sniffing every leaf-covered planter in Central Park. They've got divers diving into the lakes at Central Park wearing full-on scuba gear. They're going into the lake for 3-4 days, to which netizens have said, let's be honest, would they have done this all for a regular citizen? The answer is no. It would take months for a regular citizen to get any sort of resources used for their case, if ever. It's important to rule out any fish, so the NYPD must go fishing. Not only that, they're sending NYPD officers to Atlanta, New Jersey, Connecticut. It's turning into a full-blown national manhunt. Officers stopped an entire train. They stopped a train dead in its tracks, searched it from top to bottom. Nothing of interest was found. I mean, they searched the entire thing. One NYPD spokesperson said, "We are getting tips. It's helping. We are following up on every tip that's come in." Which, of course, is what should happen in every single murder case, but it never happens unless that same someone is worth $50 million. So it goes without saying, New Yorkers feel like there's enough people looking for the suspect. It probably felt like the entire force of the NYPD officers is out there, so why should New Yorkers help? They don't get paid enough for this. In fact, New Yorkers are out there purchasing the same jacket and the same backpack to the point where both are sold out.
Crazy.
Netizens right. It's a shame. My healthcare doesn't cover vision because I didn't see Another reads, LMAO, so they want us to play cop for free? Yeah, no. Even when the FBI puts up a reward for $50,000 leading to the arrest and conviction of the backpack shooter, and the NYPD is offering up to another $10,000, nobody wants to help. Instead, social media comments read, do we, the people, have to pay those FBI reward dollars? Why? Besides, can they not just narrow down the suspect? I mean, the police know that the suspect knew that United Health Group was holding an investor conference at the hotel that day. They knew what route Brian Thompson was going to take, which means this could be one of the many disgruntled employees that were laid off for profits, or it could be a customer of United Healthcare. So that suspect list would include almost the entirety of the US population, millions upon millions of people. But the NYPD want your help. And they say that backpack is going to be a treasure trove of evidence. That backpack, I mean, it could have the murder weapon in the backpack. It could have any other identifying information in the backpack. This is going to be the big break in the case that they so desperately need. And they find the backpack in Central Park. They find it. The NYPD unzip the backpack. They pull out the first item of interest, a Tommy Hilfiger jacket. They're like, what is that?
The backpack was just
Sitting there, Central Park.
it was left
Yes.
on purpose to be found.
And then they reach in, pull out the next thing, the only other thing really in the backpack of interest, a stack of Monopoly money. Late 2023, the Department of Justice, the DOJ, launches an antitrust monopoly investigation into United Health Group. They're being investigated for being a monopoly. There are probably a list of 1,069 reasons why the DOJ would probably want to investigate United Health Group, but one of the biggest points of contention being there is a subsidiary of United called Optum. Optum provides health services. They have hospitals, private practices, all across the United States. Meanwhile, United Healthcare is the insurance arm. So now United owns providers, they own the doctors, they have a pharmaceutical division, they have the insurance division. They also recently purchased Change Health, which is the processing claim, like the IT division. That's where doctors go on there to process their claims to get insurance money from United. So they own pretty much everything. It's a vertical monopoly, some would say. It's been said that United owns or is affiliated with about 90,000 physicians, which is about 10% of all doctors in the United States. The DOJ wants to know if United favors its own physician sites, directing or even forcing insurance holders to go there rather than to any other doctor or provider, even if it's better for them, to keep as much money in United's house, circulating between one subsidiary to the other, to the next, to the next. They also have pharmaceutical arms, like I said, the claims processor. United is also the main insurer for Medicare, Medicaid, and Obamacare plans. But what really kicks off this investigation is United tries to acquire a massive hospice provider for $3.3 billion, and the DOJ is trying to stop them. Like, do they really need another arm in their business? On a global scale, United Health Group falls at number 8 in top companies by revenue. On the US scale, like I said, they're number 4 behind Walmart, Amazon, Apple, and then it's United.
That is
Broken
crazy.
refrigerator at the worst moment? Dad has the answers.
United Health Group. They're
That is crazy. So they want to own places that make the claims for that. Yeah, that's a monopoly. Crazy times.
above Berkshire Hathaway, Exxon, Google, Alphabet, Costco, even JP Morgan Chase. They're above. The Assistant Attorney General states
Health is a
American
business.
healthcare is unwell.
Healthcare.
Unless this $3.3 billion transaction is stopped, United will further extend its grip to health and hospice care, threatening seniors, their families, and nurses. As of right now, the DOJ is still investigating United for antitrust concerns. And interestingly, a lot of people did not even know that they were being investigated
I didn't know that.
until this happened, until they found the monopoly money. Even more interesting is that Brian Thompson is not only the CEO of United Healthcare, that is obviously being investigated by the DOJ, but he is named in another class action lawsuit filed alleging that Brian Thompson knew that the DOJ was going to investigate United Health Group, and before that information was made public, because this is a publicly traded company, he allegedly sold over $15 million of his personally held United Health Group shares. Insider trading is the allegation, which had he not sold the shares and allegedly partaken in this alleged insider trading, he would have likely lost about $800,000 in shareholder value, which, don't get me wrong, it's a lot of money. But Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, the insurance swing, he makes about $10 million a year in total comp. So that's his salary, bonuses, as well as stock options. Most of it actually comes from stock, 6 million or so to be exact. Regardless, his total comp is about 8 figures a year. Again, I'm not saying he was committing insider trading or that $800,000 was the reason he sold his shares. I'm just saying. I'm not saying anything is what I'm saying. But I will say, the way mainstream media outlets have described his insider trading allegation is fascinating. One outlet writes, Thompson found himself named in a class action lawsuit alleging insider trading. The lawsuit claimed he and other executives sold millions in stocks while withholding information about a DOJ investigation into United Health's business practices. Despite these legal battles, Thompson remained steadfast in his commitment to steering the company towards innovation and growth. His ability to lead during times of turbulence earned him respect from industry peers.
That's an interesting way to look at this.
I mean, should we start doing that to every alleged criminal? It's fascinating. That is the way mainstream media has spoken about Brian Thompson and his alleged crimes and ultimately his death. The sentiment cannot be shared with social media users. On Spotify, you can create these oddly specific playlists. Like there's one titled, The Masculine Urge to Stand Outside All Alone in the Snow. Another one is, Songs That Make Me Feel Like I'm Slowly Drowning in a Bathtub in a Dimly Lit Room. Another one reads, When the zombie apocalypse finally happens but you make no effort to survive. Or a recently created one, oddly specific, POV taken out a CEO. The thumbnail is the picture of the suspect smiling, and there are 71 songs on there. The list of songs include Welcome to New York by Taylor Swift, Angel with a Shotgun, Do You Hear the People Sing, Trouble's Coming, and My Shot. Over 10,000 users saved it and are bopping to songs about the CEO assassin, as some have dubbed the suspect. That's what they're calling him. I mean, is this a normal reaction? I guess that's the debate here. Others are taking to Twitter to post pictures, zoomed in, and cleaned up images. Like, you know, in those movies, they like zoom in. The FBI's like, clear up the picture, unblur it. And it's the suspect when he briefly takes off his mask. And when you see this clarified HD photo, it is so clear that the suspect is Mr. Beast, Nancy Pelosi, Ben Shapiro, the cat from Sabrina and the Teenage Witch. They're just photoshopping faces onto the assassin's
you're
photos.
saying memes. People are making memes.
So many memes. Another viral tweet just reads, just left an anonymous tip and reported Amy Schumer for shooting that United Healthcare CEO. Or simply, thoughts and deductibles, praying hands emoji.
Oh, wow.
I would say, after digging through the depths of Twitter and TikTok and Reddit, 70 to 80%, if not more, of the interactions on this case lie somewhere between, haha, this is great, to, not great, but I'm not going to cry about it either.
Yeah.
Also, that meme is kind of funny. That's where I would say 70.
I'm not as if I'm not drawing. Hey, we're just chilling here drawing today. We're working on fabric. Welcome. Yeah, it's not for everybody, but yeah, I'm just drawing
of the
here.
reactions lie.
We're following
While
guidelines.
the others are upset that the public is
This is how you
condoning
draw
violence
stuff with
and
structure.
wants netizens to take a
Bottom
really good hard
layers.
look at the fact that he is a
It's
husband
anatomy.
and a father. Brian's wife, I believe they're separated. Like, I don't know if they're estranged, but I don't think that they were living together. She gives a statement that says, "We are shattered to hear about the senseless killing of our beloved Brian. Brian was an incredibly generous, loving, talented man who truly lived life to the fullest and touched so many lives. Most importantly, Brian was an incredibly loving father to our 2 sons and will be greatly missed."
Oh, so he
That
wasn't with his
said,
wife?
Someone on Twitter creates an account called The Ghost of Brian Thompson and is just going around commenting on people's nightmare United Healthcare experiences. One tweet reads, "I had a stroke and United Healthcare moved me from the top stroke center in the state to another hospital because the ER I went to was out of network. My doctor made them wait until I was out of the ICU. They refused to cover the ambulance they made me take to the other hospital." The ghost of
Who's the
Brian
girl on the
Thompson
podcast?
responds. That's
The
the Twitter
podcast
account
is
name.
by
It's not United's
Rotten
fault you
Mango.
had a stroke. You made the life choices that got you where you are. Merry Christmas.
I like your channel. It's pretty cool.
Netizens are commenting things like, "This is getting more coverage than what United Healthcare has ever provided." Sending prior authorization, denied claims,
That's crazy.
collections, and prayers to his family. People
Yeah,
also
that's
comment,
crazy.
was his trip to the ER really emergent? According to his own company,
What's sad is I don't think the kids and the wife, or I guess his ex-wife, whatever, is catching strays, but I understand the sentiment of the people, how they feel about this guy or what he did for the company. I'm not saying it's right what he did, but I'm on the side of I'm not gonna cry about it, but it's not great that happened. That's all I'm gonna say.
my husband's heart attack was in an actual emergency and we were out the full deductible. So I'm just saying.
Because I'm drawing, that's why.
Others say, "I can't even pretend to care. I hope he's looking up at us." Another comment reads, "Will his family still be billed? Did the ER wait to render care until they confirmed his coverage? I'm not certain the hospital was medically necessary. Did he try his primary care physician first after getting shot? Was the hospital in
That's
network?
crazy.
Did he really need to go to the ER? Why didn't he try urgent care first?" To which one netizen finally puts their foot down and responds to the comments writing, "Why would you awful people say such awful things that restore my faith in humanity?" They also argue, besides, he wasn't assassinated. His claim to life was just denied. Other netizens were more focused
that's
on the monopoly
crazy.
money and how the suspect is toying with the police. They wrote, "Bro is really out here being Robin Hood and trolling the FBI. LOL. He said, you guys are playing checkers and I'm playing Monopoly." Others point out how this is not really funny because someone out there is actually having a really bad day. They write, "Someone somewhere has a box with a Monopoly board and is going to sit down and play one day and wonder where all the damn money went. That is the only victim in this story." Many legacy media outlets have argued that the surge of social media posts, quote, glorifying the shooting is alarming. One argues, the framing of this incident as some opening blow in a class war and not a brutal murder is especially alarming. But netizens are not having it. They're writing, trying to convince me that the CEO shooter is a danger to anybody else is the biggest corporate media joke of the week. One netizen pushes back on the mainstream media's strong interest in the case, writing, the real news isn't the murder of the United Healthcare CEO. It's how many Americans don't care and are actively celebrating his death, okay? They also write that
Yeah, that's a
about
little
65,000 people in the United
tough.
States
I
die per
remember when
year
that happened.
because they're not covered by insurance or they're underinsured.
I remember when that happened. I just saw it all over social media. And I looked into like, oh damn, that's crazy. Yeah, people are not, for the majority of people, well, they did a poll, the majority of the younger people are not really sad by it. But as you go up and the older people get older, they did a poll that they were like not happy with that. So it shows an interesting graph that the younger people of this generation are not happy how the way things are going in the world. And the older people seem to be okay with it because they're already set. And I think an interesting person people should look into is Tim Galloway. If I'm saying his name correctly, he does an awesome job explaining how the wealth is not being passed down. For many generations, the wealth will be passed down. And like for this current generation, none of it's being passed down. We're like, it's crazy. There's something to be said. I don't support or condone violence or killing of anybody. There's something to be said about the way how things are, where it's like almost impossible to live, and you should not have to be fighting for your health care bills to be covered if you're paying for that. It's crazy. I know things are crazy now.
65,000. Mainstream
Yes,
media
Luigi.
news anchors have been replaying people's TikToks of them saying things like, I'm not sad about it. And they're expressing
not sad about it,
disgust.
but
They're commenting, joking
I
about
don't
somebody's
condone
murder
violence.
like that is absolutely disgusting. A family is grieving right now.
But what about the other
To which
families?
netizens have responded, you're right, it would have been better if the CEO lived and was subsequently denied care for his injuries by his healthcare provider. That would have been real justice. Another netizen writes, people have been so happy on here for the past few days. I think it might be the first time United Healthcare has ever helped with mental health. One of the main reasons that
Yeah, that's
people are so
crazy.
upset with United Healthcare is, if you want to look at it this way, this is legally, I don't know if I can say this is what they do. This is what it feels like they do. Feels, that's a opinion. You pay them to insure you for healthcare, to
Exactly.
insure you for life-saving treatments should it come to it. And most of the time, you don't even give them your money by choice, because I do see some international netizens wondering, wait, if everyone in America hates United Healthcare, why are they still in business? Why are you guys using United Healthcare?
Sometimes
There
you
really
have no
is
choice.
no market for insurance. A lot of times it's what's offered to you at work. Corporate healthcare plans are sometimes cheaper with United Healthcare. Employers will go with United because they are looking out for themselves rather than their employees. So now so many Americans are stuck with United Healthcare because they have no choice. And even though they had no choice, they still have to pay United Healthcare massive premiums every single month, hundreds of dollars, if not more, depending on who you are and if you have any conditions. And then once they finally go to the doctor
Oh,
to
yeah.
get the care that they need.
You know what's crazy about insurance? Make sure you have no pre-existing conditions or anything, because they will deny you that. I haven't dealt with that, but I'm just saying, for people, I'm just saying, I'm not going to be preachy. If you smoke, you probably want to quit smoking before you try to get health insurance. That's all I'm going to say.
They file a claim to United saying, hey, remember how I pay you so much money? Probably more money than I spend on groceries every month. Yeah, well, this is why. Remember? Please pay the provider for this x-ray I had done because I could have died. The claim still has to be approved by United.
That's crazy.
United has the highest claim denial rate in the industry. The industry average being around 16%, United denies claims over 30% of the time. A third. Imagine you're going through a fast food drive-thru. You pay money, and a third of the time, you may not get your food. In fact, you may owe more money.
That is crazy.
One of my favorite things is shopping for other people. But shopping for myself is an internal struggle. I think we've all had that moment in the dressing room with the LED lights and the mirrors, and you're just looking at your body from every angle and you're sweating and you have intrusive thoughts and you're like, okay,
Not really.
this is not a good time. I don't even know if this looks good on me. And that doesn't have to be the experience anymore. That's where Stitch Fix comes in. Stitch Fix's revolutionary online personal styling service simplifies
buy what's
the
off the
entire
rack.
traditional shopping experience. Frustrations like sizing issues, limited stock, and unflattering dressing room lighting are eliminated. Plus, you work closely with your Stitch Fix stylist. I just shared my size, style, and budget preferences, and a personalized collection was delivered straight to my front door. I can try on the clothes in the comfort of my home, which I love. I can give my family members a fashion show, see how the colors look and feel in real life. Because sometimes a sweater looks great and then it turns out itchy. This is perfect. And then I just send back the pieces that don't work. The ones that do work find their permanent homes in my closet. And the absolute best part is there is no subscription required. You can order one box, one time without future obligations. For example, you can give the gift of Stitch Fix to your mother or loved ones for the holidays. A one-of-a-kind, personalized stylist experience with carefully selected pieces, complete with outfit recommendations and styling tips. Avoid the frustrations of traditional shopping, long lines, crowded dressing rooms, and give the gift of personal styling for everyone. Get started today at stitchfix.com/rotten. That's stitchfix.com/rotten. Here's one Reddit review of United before the killing of Brian Thompson. This is from 2 years ago. It reads, "My son and I were on United for a year. It was the worst experience I ever had with insurance. They denied every little thing. We would have to spend hours on the phone with them. Eventually, they would pay the claim. We would have to get the state insurance commissioner involved in an ER visit that they didn't want to pay. Eventually, they paid it, only to reverse their decision 6 months later. Once again, we spent months fighting it, and eventually they paid it. I hate this company, and if my employer ever decides to go with United Healthcare, I would strongly think about finding another job." One comment under that reads, "I'm having the same issues right now. Denying all my claims, now I'm being billed thousands of dollars for routine blood work."
Wow.
One
That's
ER nurse
crazy.
on TikTok says, "The things I've seen dying patients get denied for by insurance makes me physically sick. I just can't feel sympathy for Brian Thompson because of all those patients and their families." Another healthcare worker writes, "I work in hospital utilization management. United Healthcare is literally the worst payer, and it's not even by a close margin. In my extensive firsthand experience, they deny medically necessary services in bad faith constantly. I would never use them. United denies anything they can. I hate them." Another review from 1 year ago, again, way before the killing of Brian Thompson, reads, "The company is targeting senior citizens with cheap so-called Medicare Advantage plans and denying coverage left and right. They are literally driving people to their graves." Another netizen writes,
All for
"It's
profit?
scary,
That's
but I'm
crazy.
not surprised something like this finally bubbled up. Especially with the current dynamic in our society, it's akin to pitchforks and torches. The health system is a scam, and somebody finally snapped." Another netizen points out, "Their business model is predicated on systematically denying customers vital care. They are effectively stealing billions in profits. So for example, United Healthcare makes billions, hundreds of billions of dollars from all those insurance premiums. And they're incentivized to pay out less claims.
Yeah.
So they can hoard more money to themselves. There's actually a law that you have to pay out a certain percentage of the monthly premiums that you receive.
Yeah.
United did not. So they actually had to pay back consumers, I think like
Wow.
7% of their annual premium.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
So that was a whole
So
thing.
they're-
That's crazy.
Okay, so basically,
Speaking of that,
they are
with my insurance provider, whatever. You know what I think is crazy? If there's money left over from what I didn't use, I have to apply. Listen, I have to apply to get that back. Why would anyone have to apply to get money unspent back? That should be automatically given back to you. I think that's crazy. That needs to be changed in the law. Unspent money from your premium and stuff should be given back to you automatically, not applying for it. That's crazy.
are taking $100 in, for example, every month. They pay out, let's say the law says you have to pay at least 50% of that. At least.
Yeah, probably more like $30.
Okay, at least 30% of dollar of that you need to pay for those medical procedures. And they are under. They only pay $23. They're like, fine, here's $7. Let me pay the patients $7 more.
Yes. Because, yeah, I mean, you do with that what you will, that information. United also provided the health insurance plans for students at Penn State University, not to be confused with UPenn, which is important later, but I digress, okay? But at Penn State University, this was like a huge thing of what happened with United Healthcare. They are going to provide insurance plans for students. It is a lucrative business model. Very healthy young students. I mean, Penn State University, you're talking about
remember those.
middle upper class students
Yeah,
that probably take good care of their.
Yeah, I remember that. Not this specifically one, but I remember like well, I think it's good to get health insurance as a student, but it's crazy how much it was, and sometimes you didn't use it at all. I guess it's good to have. You just have the option to have it, but they should pay you back that money if you don't use it. I think it's crazy. Anyways, we could go on.
Health have been at this point. They're athletic, they work out, they're good. Paying every single month. Most of them don't really need that much medical help. Just some routine checkups, that's it.
Yeah.
But one student at Penn State was costing United Healthcare $2 million a year. He has ulcerative colitis, severe arthritis, debilitating diarrhea. He has bloody diarrhea 40 to 50 times a day. And I know someone might be like, oh, well, I have diarrhea. This is to the point he cannot engage in any normal activities. He cannot play sports. He cannot even go outside. He can't even go to the store to pick up apples because he could have debilitating diarrhea in the middle of the store. He has fatigue. He has potentially life-threatening blood clots. To treat him, it was costing United Healthcare $2 million a year. But now they don't want to pay that anymore, even though he's insured, even though he pays for their services. This is the social contract, and it's pretty much a contract, but they don't want it. Christopher needs that care. In 2021, a phone call is recorded by a United nurse and her colleague that works at United Healthcare. They're talking about how a doctor reviewed Christopher's case and decided he does not medically need all the medications he's on. You know, like the things that are keeping him a normal human being, he doesn't need it, which means if a doctor can say Christopher does not need the medications that are quite literally saving his life, United does not need to pay for it anymore. And they laugh about it.
He states that it's not medically necessary treatment. Yeah.
I knew that was coming.
They also go on to rant about how Christopher's mother keeps calling, quote, screaming and yelling and throwing tantrums. Yeah, because her son could die, but I guess that's funny.
Yeah.
They both state that for the family to appeal the denial of treatment would be a waste of the family's time and money, so there's nothing that they can do about getting this potentially life-saving treatment denied. One of them remarks, we're still gonna say no regardless. Christopher and his family end up suing. That's how this call is released. Through those court documents. This is how United Healthcare is talking about their customers that pay every single month. They laugh when they deny life-saving care. They also bury doctors' reports that told United, hey, if you alter Christopher's medications, that would be very dangerous for his health. They did not care. When all this came to light, a United spokesperson said, Christopher's treatment involves medication dosages that far exceed FDA guidelines. In cases like this, we review treatment plans based on his current clinical guidelines to help ensure patient safety. Which is not true. One of Christian's doctors wrote, this is not a typical case. He's very young. His condition is very extreme. Of course, we cannot stick to FDA guidelines. It's just not going to work for him. The FDA guidelines are there for the mass general public. And it's just a guideline. And they write, his disease is significantly severe with a diagnosis at a young age. He has failed every biologic medication class recommendations by guidelines. Therefore, guidelines can no longer be applied to this case. This is what's working. We've tried lowering his meds. It didn't work.
So the United Healthcare is saying that we did it for him.
That's exactly what Blue Cross Blue Shield was saying.
Oh, right,
They're saying, people are getting too much anesthesia, so we're doing it for you. And everyone's saying, you're not doing anything for us.
Yeah.
You're crazy if you think that. This is such crazy gaslighting on a corporate level. On top of that, Christopher's parents, they both work at Penn State University. They're faculty. So they were talking to this person that was the medium between Penn State University and United Healthcare, because it's the coverage that all the students get. And originally that person was going to the bat. They were trying to help get the United to pay all these claims. And then out of nowhere, that person becomes way less helpful. And they wonder why. This was not publicly released to anybody, but turns out in the midst of all of this, she is now fully employed by United and no longer the university. Originally, she
What?
was employed by the university.
Yeah.
So her interests lie with her students.
Yeah.
But now United has taken her on as an employee. She still works at the university and she's still
Here we go.
That's crazy.
Discover great movies every week.
the middleman, but she works for United. She does not work for the university. So whose interests is she protecting?
That's crazy.
And nobody was informed about that.
They bought her off, basically.
Yes.
They said, here's a fatter salary. Come work for us.
Yes.
So we don't have to pay $2 million on this thing.
Yeah. I don't know if it was solely because of Christopher's case. One could maybe potentially, in their opinion, connect the dots to that. But it is very suspicious, is it not? And the fact that even without Christopher's case, whose best interests are we serving? It's not the students anymore.
Yeah.
It's going to be United. United also states that Christopher, they're not treating Christopher. These are not treatment conditions. This is where it gets so confusing. They say, we don't know his exact medical history, so we don't want to treat him. Those treatment decisions are made between him and his physicians. But Christopher and everybody else is arguing, but if you're denying coverage for the treatment that the doctor recommends, are you not dictating how he gets treatment? Are you not suddenly playing doctor? Christopher states, the insurer United is playing doctor, making decisions without ever examining him or even speaking with him. Because these were the only medications that ever made him not housebound and feel somewhat normal. To return back to a state where he could not do anything, Christopher said that he contemplated self-exiting if the coverage was ultimately denied. They are still engaged in a legal battle. I believe that they settled out of court, but it was messy. One netizen states, United Healthcare, that's what it should be called. Some netizens say that the CEOs and billionaires of major corporations should feel like their actions have consequences. Not the consequence of murder, right? But it's kind of the situation of, I guess if a celebrity were to do something, there would be some backlash. A lot of CEOs and major corporations, there's some backlash, but not really. It doesn't affect them. They don't wish to be liked by the general public.
Yeah.
They wish for their bottom line to be fat. One netizen comments, billionaires and CEOs should see the fact that the entire internet is having a week-long celebration for one of their own's death. And they should really think about what that means. Again, that's not a threat. They're saying, think about how we got here. Think about what you're doing with your life. But some of them have taken to making jokes, writing, my Amazon order is 4 days late, at Jeff Bezos. You seen what happened to the other guy? Stop playing. I will say most people seem to carry the sentiment, but some others disagree. One netizen rants on Twitter, United Health Group's profit margins are only 6 to 8%. That means keeping the same amount of coverage but lowering their premiums by 8% would make them completely unprofitable. We as a society is by and large financially innumerate and illiterate. It blames health insurance companies for high cost of healthcare. If this were true, Geico would also be responsible for high car prices and Progressive Home Insurance for high house prices. Salaries account for 60 to 80% of hospital expenditures. You know why healthcare costs are so high? Because our doctors make more than double compared to German and Swedish doctors. That's the reason they pay half of what we pay. Which is a fascinating argument. I don't know why this netizen has taken it upon themselves to worry about if United is making billions or a few less billions of pure profit per year, which is enlightening and fascinating of a take. But another netizen responds, the only reason that doctors get paid higher here than other countries is because the education is more expensive here. They're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. You can trace this, and it's going to be like the chicken and the egg story. What came first? Other netizens are just calling the original poster a corporate bootlicker, wondering what they get out of defending a soulless mega corporation that denies healthcare to paying customers. Others argue, even if all of this is true, that does not give anyone the right to shoot the man dead on a public street in the middle of the day. We have courts for those things. To which netizens argue, it's adorable that you have faith in the rule of law when your country is run by bureaucrats, twisting the system in their favor, ensuring the status quo remains the same. All of us little people stay at the bottom for the elite to use and exploit to enrich themselves further. To which a whole fight ensues. So you're saying it's okay to murder someone secretly or openly because they've been accused of doing bad things? Accused is not convicted. Accused of insider trading. Another netizen responds, almost every policy decision made by United had to pass over his desk. Every family bankrupted and every person that died because they couldn't get the proper medical care was on his hands. Why do you protect the elite who walked all over us and don't give a fuck about you?
Good question.
To which someone responds, people can start a class action lawsuit and they will always have lawyers coming out of the woodwork to help them. Individuals are a little more dicey, but it can be done through the court. You don't have to murder someone. Many
Okay, I will
netizens
say
have written
this.
back, where exactly?
I don't agree with going around murdering people. That's a slippery slope. That's crazy. But I'm not. I don't condone violence, but I'm not upset about. No, you can have their own opinions. This is crazy.
Can we hold these CEOs accountable?
But I do wonder how things are going to change because of this. Because I noticed what I saw after this happened. I saw a lot of interesting things, like certain places taking down their CEO, like profiles and bios. Is like all of a sudden they want to hide who their CEOs are, which I thought was interesting. What resulted from this, and seeing that some companies were changing policies, this has a rippling effect. I don't. It'd be interesting to see if it's a negative effect, positive effect. And there's always people who take things to the extreme. But I saw something where like the CEO for the Phoenix Suns changed the prices of the food stand, like from $9 hot dogs to $50 hot dogs. That's crazy. Yeah, it's definitely have people talking. I will say that. I'm no expert on this. I don't know nothing, but this situation definitely has people talking and starting to pay attention.
Poor
I just
people
wonder how
have
long will it last.
zero access to the court system. It's pay to play. Wake up and look around for fuck's sake. Another comment reads, courts for filthy rich white collar criminals? Yeah, that's freaking hilarious. Tell me more about this imaginary world you live in. One netizen expresses disappointment in society, writing, if this was your dad, you would not say horrible things. I live in Minneapolis, and I can tell you his family is wonderful.
That's one aspect I do agree. It's hard to say that stuff when it's not your direct family members. I like to put myself in everyone's shoes. Because if I had a family member and they got killed in the street cold blood, you'll be upset about that. So I'm not denying no one's feelings. But it is crazy and it is interesting to see what happens now. But yeah.
Is not the sole decision.
But if you're being heartless, people are less likely to have sympathy for you. If your actions cause certain things. Not saying that what this guy did is right, but
maker. It's a
things
huge
happen.
corporation. Sad that healthcare is all going downhill. Starts with the drug companies and people living longer. To which people comment, funny how when United says it to people who have policies, it's not horrible. Another comment reads, denying people healthcare after people have paid into that system is a whole new level of evil.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Another debate-inducing comment reads, it's very sad many people have lost their minds and moral clarity. How can you celebrate the death of just a guy in a position to do his job and people compare him to Hitler? Folks, the guy was a human being who has loved ones like us who are mourning him right now. Please have some sympathy and maybe a little class. Many netizens have taken on the viewpoint that you live by the sword, you die by the sword. They write, when you punch down on the weak and poor, you get what you deserve.
Ooh,
I will say, it seems like most Americans are at least supporting the suspect, or if not caring and feeling sympathy for Brian.
Okay, I can understand
so
people not caring. I can understand
both sides
that.
of the aisle
I won't say
more or less
deserving.
united.
Not
One
caring,
netizen
I can
sentiment
agree
sums
with
it up
that.
pretty well. I've seen these responses throughout Reddit, and I cannot blame the reaction of many. Where's the equal amount of media coverage on millions of people being denied healthcare because of these insurance companies? Or those going nearly bankrupt to cover what their insurance companies won't? Americans are dying because of their greed, and it's making it nearly impossible to feel anything close to sympathy at this point. With the overwhelming sentiment being, quote, this might be the one time, if not all, of America is united. 5 days after Brian Thompson's murder, Larry, and his friends meet up at McDonald's. Larry and his friends always go to this McDonald's. They're sitting around eating their regular orders when Larry says, you know, one of my friends, and I thought he was kidding, when the shooter, or who I assume is the shooter, came into the McDonald's, he made this comment. This little guy walks in.
God, that looks like the shooter from New York. But I thought he was, the group of us, I thought it was more of a joke.
You know what's
we
crazy?
Were kidding about.
Now this is a little off topic. I used to work in fast food. And you always had a certain group of individuals, usually older fellows who were retired, and they would always come to that fast food restaurant at the same time and hang out. It's like a little hangout club. I thought it's funny that you always find that group everywhere at a local fast food place. And they will fight over again the morning newspaper and their coffee. That was funny. They're always there on time because they have nothing else to do.
About it, but then...
And as it turned out, it was him. The employee said that they thought that that was him. You know, I guess that's what started the initial investigation on it, you know, and
Wait. Larry is talking to who?
He's telling the news station. So he's saying he's sitting at McDonald's with all of his buddies, and this guy walks in with a mask and a hood and a backpack, and they're like, that guy looks like the New York City shooter. Ha 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 ha. Because, you know, what are the odds that he's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, 86 miles away from New York City? So random. And this is a very small town in Pennsylvania. And they're like, hee hee, haha, giggling. But I guess the employee overhears at McDonald's, sees the guy when he's ordering, and decides, you know what, I think that's the shooter, and calls 911.
Thank you, CVA.
Larry and his friends leave before the police arrive. And then later, it's all over the news. The shooter has been caught at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. So Larry says he goes back to the McDonald's. He asks the employees, was that the guy? Was it this McDonald's that he was arrested in? And they said, yeah.
I said, was I here when he came in? And she goes,
you were sitting right there in front of him. You were making jokes that he was the shooter. He thought that was crazy. He said, I mean, he must have heard us when he walked in, but he had no reaction because we were talking pretty loudly. We were right there. They said that the shooter was sitting in the corner eating hash browns. He does note that he was surprised that the shooter stayed as long as he did, considering he's on the run. But again, at the time, he did not really think that. Larry did not think that that was the United shooter, but one of the employees at McDonald's clearly did. A 26-year-old man is promptly arrested at McDonald's, and I'm sure you've all seen the news by now. That man is Luigi Mangione. He was considered a missing person. His mom filed a missing persons report for him November 18th of this year, but apparently he hasn't been in contact with his family for the past few months.
That was interesting to me.
In his backpack, police allege there was a 3D printed ghost gun, a 3D printed silencer, a loaded Glock magazine with 6 9mm rounds, and apparently multiple fake IDs, including one that was allegedly used to check into the New York City hotel by the person of interest in the pictures. There was a U.S. passport, $10,000 in cash. The police allege that there was $8,000 in USD and $2,000 in foreign currency, which is going to be debated later. They state that there was clothes, face masks that were similar to what the suspect used, as well as a water bottle and a Kind bar wrapper with fingerprints allegedly matching those found near the crime scene. They also state that they found a spiral notebook containing entries and thoughts, as well as almost like to-do lists, as well as a 3-page manifesto that legacy media did not want to release. All these networks had his manifesto in possession.
You're kidding me.
That's crazy.
They would quote from it here and there. Ken Klippenstein is the independent journalist that released it. And he writes, my queries to the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, and NBC to explain their rationale for withholding the manifesto while gladly quoting from it selectively have not been answered.
That is some wild stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the research for this case was very disorienting. I would go onto mainstream media and the rhetoric, the tone was so disconnected from even their own comment section. Not even just Twitter and
What is that? Banco Noir?
It's called Chardonnay.
I don't drink any alcoholic beverages.
I know nothing about.
Oh, how do I skip ads? Because these ads will get your video's copyright claim, even though you're trying to skip it.
manifesto reads in full. To the feds, I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. To save you a lengthy investigation, I state plainly that I wasn't working with anyone. This was fairly trivial, some elementary social engineering, basic CAD, and a lot of patience. The spiral notebook, if present, has some straggling notes and to-do lists that illuminate the gist of it. My tech is pretty locked down because I work in engineering, so probably not much info in there. I do apologize for any strife or trauma, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. A reminder, the US has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly 42 in life expectancy. United is the largest company in the US by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, Walmart. It has grown and grown, but has our life expectancy? No, the reality is these indecipherable words have simply gotten too powerful, and they continue to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it.
That's
Obviously,
crazy.
the problem is more complex, but I do not have space, and frankly, I do not pretend to be the most qualified person to lay out the full argument. But many have illuminated the corporation and greed decades ago, and the problems simply remain. It is not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly
just have
power
to
games at
open a
play.
file. I'll be right
Evidently,
back.
I am
Still
the
here.
first to face it with such brutal honesty.
Don't go nowhere.
The
Take a quick
spiral
little
notebook,
break.
at least as of right now, hasn't been fully released, but there are sources that state he had brief ideas, considerations of bombing Manhattan, but decided against it because it would, quote, kill innocents. So he went for a
Heck,
far more
that's
targeted
crazy.
approach, writing, so then what do? You go to the annual parasitic bean counter convention to whack the CEO. It's targeted, precise, and doesn't risk innocence. What would be better than killing the CEO at his own bean counting conference? Which, side note, let's not forget, this is alleged. You can write whatever you want on whatever piece of notebook in your possession. That would be free speech, right? So just keep in mind, people are innocent till proven guilty in the court of law. Perhaps Luigi was so delusional that he truly believed that United's top executives gather together to count how many pinto beans they each have, right? Everybody is innocent until proven guilty. You can write whatever you want. That doesn't necessarily imply guilt. Or maybe he thought this was a plot of a movie that he could sell to Netflix. Again, take everything with a grain of salt, but the police are saying this is like a slam dunk case. Just saying. In his Goodreads account, he did state that he wanted to read the biography of the creator of the atomic bomb, and he did rate the Unabomber's book 4
still
stars,
here.
so there's that. However, what does that even really mean, right? I could rate any book 5 stars. In the midst of researching this case was when Luigi Mangione was arrested while I was in the midst of researching, and the shitstorm just began. This man's entire digital footprint comes
So
out
I'm
within a
gonna
day or
start
two
the-
since his arrest, and probably more so
Pause
trickling in
real
now.
quick. Alright, I'm gonna start the next stream. The one recorded, because I'm gonna do like a speed paint. So I'm gonna record me coloring this. So I think I'm gonna start a new stream like in the next 10 minutes or so. So yeah, if you'd like to see, feel free to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and Patreon for more alternate artworks. Yeah, I'm gonna keep going, but I think I'm gonna start a new stream when I do the coloring. I'm just gonna do a little few adjustments here, but pretty much done all the stuff and then clean up and then go from there. All right, let's keep going.
Netizens found his Twitter account. This guy seems very normal. He liked posts about caffeine. It's amazing how caffeine really is the only drug that has reached this level of social acceptance. Imagine someone saying, the first line of cocaine in the morning is one of my favorite things in life. Or, without my morning joint, I can't function. He reliked this. Or just a forum screenshot. Again, not his words, just a repost, but maybe it can shed some light on his viewpoints. The screenshot is of someone asking the question, what are your thoughts on this quote? It is no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Someone responds, those who feel strong aversion to adjusting to a maladjusted society are deemed mentally ill, alcoholics, substance abusers, or slackers. They are corralled into a 12-step group and or a mental hospital or placed on medication or even just shunned, all in the attempt to make them conform and fit in when what really needs to happen is change in the society itself. He reposts another quote, being smart makes you more prone to confirmation bias. Luigi allegedly elaborates on this viewpoint, stating, in retrospect, it shouldn't have been surprising. Confirmation bias is what happens when that little lawyer in your head takes control of your thinking process, and smart people have a very smart little lawyer in there. To which netizens have commented, yeah, well, you better get a lawyer a call. They find Luigi's Instagram, which has since been taken down. His Goodreads account, like I was telling you, also taken down. His
Really?
LinkedIn, and it shows that he graduated in 2020 with a bachelor's degree from the Ivy League UPenn, and then eventually went on to get a master's in computer science and minor in mathematics. He was even valedictorian at his private prep school he went to, Gilman. It's this elite all-boys school that costs nearly $40,000 per year for high school. He gave a valedictorian speech where he explains, the teachers at Gilman influenced me especially. They encouraged less of a desire to achieve high grades, but instead encouraged more of an excitement to explore academic topics outside of the classroom.
I have to remember that a valedictory, by definition, is a farewell. It's been an incredible journey. Thank you.
While netizens are constructing this profile of the alleged shooter, they're getting more confused because I don't think this is who they thought it would be in the beginning. And it seems like this is what netizens describe as the healthcare industry's worst case scenario of who the shooter could be. Because the shooter is not a minority. The shooter is not from an underprivileged class. The shooter is well-educated, Ivy League educated, from a privileged class, is a white, attractive male. It's a very interesting profile that starts coming together. He says that he wanted to study biology and AI. He was on the robotics team. Side note, former classmates of Luigi's have spoken out. And one former classmate says,
but everyone just knew him as like a quiet, reserved, nice kid. He was obviously really intelligent, and everybody can tell that by his resume, of course. Yeah.
it's been said that even his family is of a very prominent, influential family in Maryland.
Wow.
His grandfather allegedly made a lot of money as a real estate developer who owned country clubs, nursing homes. They are related to healthcare. They have connections to healthcare, and even a radio station. He passed away in 2008 from a stroke. His grandmother passed away in 2023 from Parkinson's. So Luigi's grandparents, they pass away, but his parents themselves are also doing well for themselves in the family business. There's actually quite a lot of debates on whether or not Luigi and his family could potentially be wealthier than Brian Thompson.
Wow.
Really?
Brian Thompson's net worth is estimated to be around $43 million. It is unclear what the Mangionis are worth exactly, but people find it an interesting discussion. Perhaps even more riveting is the fact that Luigi is allegedly included in a will from his grandmother that could be anywhere between $30 million to $100 million. It's
That's
not just
crazy.
for Luigi himself, but they have a very large Italian family. Anybody who is charged and convicted of a felony forfeits their right to any inheritance. So it appears that if that is true, Luigi does not care for money.
Wow.
And there's a lot of money in his family. They donated over $1 million to the local hospital, Greater Baltimore Medical Center. The unit for high-risk obstetrics has the Mangione family name on there. They have the Mangione Family Foundation that supports nonprofit healthcare facilities. They run a real estate healthcare connected empire with nursing homes. Even more fascinating is Luigi's immediate cousin is Nino Mangione. He's a Maryland state delegate known to be quite conservative. He describes himself as, quote, conservative Republican fighting for freedom and the future of Maryland. He actually had to cancel his political fundraisers because of Luigi's arrest. He states, because of the nature of this terrible condition involving my cousin, I do not believe it is appropriate to hold fundraising events scheduled this Thursday. I want to thank you for your thoughts and prayers and support. My family and I are heartbroken and ask that you remember the family of Mr. Thompson in your prayers. But like I said, it appears that Luigi has not been in contact with this very wealthy family because they reported him missing a month ago, and they state that they haven't spoken to him in months. And I think once people start digging into Luigi, getting his Twitter, Goodreads, Instagram, the question is, why did he kill Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare? One of the last quotes that he ever liked on Goodreads is from the Dr. Seuss book, The Lorax.
All right, I'm going to end this stream here because I'm going to prepare to start doing the coloring. I want to start a new stream so I can record it and do a speed paint. Yeah. All right. So this is the line work. It's fully done. So the next stream, which will start hopefully soon, I'll be coloring this and getting this thing done so I can post it in time and start a new project. Yeah. Finally have some time during the holidays to work on this. All right. Hope you guys have a good one. See you in the next stream. Bye.